take the following key initiatives. We will uncap the road fund. Maintenance. Mr. Speaker, we will minimize sole source procurement to encourage competition, competitive bidding, and enhance public transparency in the procurement processes. Mr. Speaker, the drip equipment, electioneering purposes, will be reorganized into regional mobile maintenance units to provide emergency road works in the regions. Mr. Speaker, I have realigned the Ministry of Transport to oversee 4 modes of transportation: aviation, maritime, inland water transport, road transport, and railways. The government will commission a feasibility study to develop coastal water transport services. This initiative aims to promote alternative modes of transport and ensure their integration into our existing systems under the National Transport Policy. It also aims to enhance tourism, reduce road traffic, and mitigate environmental pollution. Motorcycles and tricycles, commonly known as Okada, hold significant potential as a more convenient, timely, safe, and cost-effective mode of transport. Currently, the Road Traffic Regulation of 2012, LI Training Academy, and a maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. The Volta region will become a center of excellence for aviation training and aircraft maintenance. This project will create significant employment opportunities. It will stimulate economic growth and bolster tourism in Ho and the surrounding communities. I have directed the airport company to release 10 acres of land at the Ho airport for this purpose. Mr. Speaker, with the completion of the Tema-Mpakadan rail line, the government will launch passenger services between Tema and Adome. We will also begin developing the necessary infrastructure on the Volta Lake to facilitate freight transport between Tema Port and Bupe as part of our Eastern Corridor multimodal transport organized in partnership with the private sector. This initiative aims to support the efficient transport of bulk cargo and minerals from the mines along the Western Corridor. Mr. Speaker, National Airline, competent established partners to work with us to establish a national airline. We believe that an efficient national carrier can help reduce fares on routes where external carriers are currently enjoying a monopoly. Innovation and enhanced public service delivery. We're also dedicated to improving access to information and communication technology, promoting the digital economy, ensuring inclusive and equitable growth across all sectors. Nevertheless, the sector faces several significant challenges that hinder our progress, and these include insufficient infrastructure for delivering weather and climate services across all time zones, fragmented and uncoordinated databases, outdated legislation and policies that do not keep pace with a rapidly evolving sector, a lack of adequate technology to effectively detect, prevent, and respond to cybersecurity threats, and a daunting debt burden of almost 2 billion cedis. To revitalize this sector, government is committed to reviewing existing laws and policies to build the Ghana that we all want. However, the water sector in Ghana faces considerable challenges, including illegal mining activities that contaminate fresh water sources, rendering them unsafe for drinking and agriculture. This alarming situation highlights the critical need for a decisive and ongoing effort to combat illegal mining, to save our environment and our public health. Government will prioritize completing new and ongoing water projects to improve access to safe drinking water. This commitment should be good news for the people in the Keta, Adaklu, Wenchi, Sekendi Takrade, Asankragwa, Sehwiwioso, Dodoaso, Kweman, Damfa, Goso, Dwaben, Yendi, Sunyani, Techiman, and Takwa to ensure broader access to potable water nationwide. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has a coastline that stretches approximately 550 kilometers. 2/3 of this coastline is threatened by tidal wave erosion, which impacts nearly 30% of Ghana's population. Rising sea levels have exacerbated vulnerabilities in coastal areas, leading to flooding, habitat loss, and community displacement. Consequently, coastal protection has emerged as a critical national priority. And so for the communities that are threatened by flood currently, we're going to prioritize building sea defense to be able to protect you. Flooding has become an all too frequent occurrence in many urban centers across the county, resulting in tragic loss of life, livelihood, and property. This scenario underscores the urgent need for sustainable solutions to address these pressing challenges. Many of our drainage systems are inadequate. They are worsened by careless waterway construction and obstruction, and the relentless encroachment on wetlands and floodplains. To tackle these issues, we have to explore alternative sources of funding to support essential drainage works, desilting, flood control, and coastal protection. Mr. Speaker, the quality of life of any nation relies significantly on a well-regulated and efficient housing market that guarantees access to decent homes. Our housing deficit is estimated at over 1.2 million units, and this has been the situation for many decades. High costs associated with land acquisition, construction material, and access to financing have made home ownership unattainable for many, primarily affecting vulnerable populations and contributing to the rise of slums. This government is steadfast in its commitment to complete all ongoing housing initiatives, beginning with the Saglemi Affordable Housing Project. We'll also implement a low-cost social housing project supported by a district housing scheme. This project aims to remove the financial barriers to home ownership. Workers in the formal sector, public or private, who have about 15 to 20 years before retirement, can purchase and own a house in cedis and have the cost deducted monthly from their salaries until the house is fully paid up. Mr. Speaker, illegal mining, commonly known as Galamsey, has inflicted tremendous harm on our forests, leading to significant land degradation and pollution of vital water sources. This reckless activity threatens Ghana's environment and public health. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to report that presently 44 of the country's 288 forest reserves, 8,000 football fields has been completely destroyed. Mr. Speaker, the pollution levels in major rivers within the southwestern basin are critically high, with turbidity levels far exceeding possible units. To combat this urgent crisis, we're implementing a proactive approach that includes robust and impartial law enforcement, meaningful stakeholder engagement, and the creation of alternative livelihoods for our citizens involved in Galamsey. We're expanding the Minerals Commission regional offices to strengthen their regulatory oversight. We will establish a framework that categorizes mining activities into small, medium, and large scale, each with its tailored regulations. Mr. Speaker, we will establish a gold board, and we're in the process of doing it. Legislation will come to this House shortly. This gold board will ensure effective governance of the gold industry. At the same time, we wish to take advantage of Ghana's salt production capacity to place it as a central export commodity under the African Continental Free Trade Area. We will also seize opportunities presented by the global shift towards net zero emissions to craft policies related to critical minerals such as lithium. The anticipated development of the integrated aluminium and iron industry will significantly increase the value of Ghana's natural resources. In our commitment to restoring degraded forests, we will launch the Tree for Life restoration policy and the Blue Water Initiative, which will transform mined-out areas into ecological recovery zones. This ambitious afforestation program aims to establish more than 50,000 hectares of new plantations and undertake 5,000 hectares of enrichment planting annually. We'll also implement public sensitization campaigns to foster sustainable forest management, Private Resource Management Act. We're going to involve school children and the general public in tree planting and tree growing. Administration. Climate change remains a pressing concern for Ghana and the global community. To meet our climate mitigation targets, Ghana has allocated 24 million metric tons of its carbon budget, totaling 64 million metric tons of carbon. Authorized 3 projects which are poised to reduce, strengthening institutional and human capacity through necessary adaptation and mitigation measures to bolster resilience in critical sectors such as agriculture, forestry, energy, and water resources. We also pledge to align our national policies with international fair and just transition to renewable energy sources. Mr. Speaker, we stand on the cusp of making history. The history of a country that prioritizes transparency and accountability as key elements of governance. During my campaign for president, I pledged, as captured by the NDC's 2024 manifesto, to take a strong stance against corruption. Mr. Speaker, we must end state capture. Mr. Speaker, we must end the purchase of state and public assets, such as land and other immovable assets, by members of the political class. Mr. Speaker, I pledge to fight corruption head-on by implementing Operation Recover All the Loot, ORAL. In that regard, Mr. Speaker, one of the first committees I established, even before my investiture as president, was to establish the Oral Committee on the sidelines of our transition. It is instructive to announce that the committee received over 2,000 complaints from the public and has since handed over a comprehensive report. This report has been given to the Attorney General for further review, thorough investigation, and eventual prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, the recent arrest related to the unwarranted payment of $2 million of Ghanaian taxpayers' money in the Sky train saga, and then also the National Service Ghost Name scandal, mark only the beginning of a comprehensive response based on the Oral Committee's findings. Mr. Speaker, let me state that my commitment to fighting corruption will continue with the establishment of a unit at the presidency and the maintenance of the hotline, where complaints and reports regarding graft and corruption will continue to be received and transferred to the Office of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, we will shortly submit for consideration a bill to regulate and restrict the sale of disposal of public lands and state assets. Mr. Speaker, as soon as the 2025 budget is approved, government will immediately take steps to reform the existing anti-corruption agencies by increasing funding and improving transparency and accountability. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians voted largely and overwhelmingly and endorsed the NDC because we demonstrated a strong commitment and abhorrence for corruption. We pledged to fight corruption and implement far-reaching reforms that will eventually achieve a sustainable zero-tolerance policy against corruption. Mr. Speaker, the justice and legal sectors play pivotal roles in ensuring accountability and fostering the fair, equitable treatment of all our citizens by the state and its agencies. Delays and uncertainties have plagued justice delivery in Ghana, leading many Ghanaians to perceive a politicization of the judicial process. The public trust in the judiciary's independence is alarmingly low. We must work together to restore confidence in the judiciary. My government will uphold the judiciary's independence and work with the Judicial Council and services to depoliticize justice delivery and collaborate closely with the Chief Justice to combat corruption effectively. Mr. Speaker, in line with our manifesto promise to reform and expand legal education, we have developed a legal education reform bill ready to be presented to Cabinet for approval and laying before this August House Parliament. Mr. Speaker, on January 30th, 2025, I inaugurated the Constitution Review Committee to undertake a comprehensive review of our fundamental law and ensure that it reflects the hopes and aspirations of our citizens. The committee is composed of distinguished scholars, jurists, and professionals who have made significant contributions to our nation in both the public and private sectors. They will engage Ghanaians and consult with the relevant stakeholders and experts over the next 6 months. Their findings will ultimately be presented to the public for approval, followed by submission to Parliament for enactment into law, and referendums will be held where necessary. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that Ghana's internal security remains stable, despite developments primarily rooted in chieftaincy disputes. We firmly believe that even amidst conflict, it is essential for our citizens to coexist peacefully and seek amicable resolution to these disputes. We will initiate comprehensive reform across all security agencies to strengthen our national safety and security. One area that has garnered significant public scrutiny is the recruitment process within our security forces. Accusations of politicization, favoritism, protocol, and selectivity have been prevalent. Let me assure you that we are committed to changing that narrative and fostering a more transparent and equitable recruitment policy so that all our young people who wish to serve in these services have an opportunity to do so. We are dedicated to enhancing the capabilities of the Ghana Police Service, the Prison Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the Immigration Service, and the Narcotics Control Commission, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and all investigative bodies operating under the Ministry of Interior. By motivating and re-equipping these agencies, we aim to effectively maintain internal peace and security. Mr. Speaker, I want to reaffirm this government's unwavering commitment to prioritizing the welfare and well-being of our brave men and women in uniform who sacrifice daily to uphold law and order and secure our nation's peace. We will invest in adequate equipment and suitable accommodation for our security personnel. As Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, I want to emphasize our determination to strengthen our democracies. This is particularly true given the troubled proliferation of military-grade weapons that have fallen into unauthorized hands. These weapons pose a significant threat to our national security and our constitutional democracy. They endanger the safety of all Ghanaians and potentially exacerbate existing conflicts such as chieftaincy disputes, and in many cases fall into the hands of armed robbers. Since taking office, we have pursued a responsible approach to account for these unregistered weapons while maintaining stability within the security apparatus. I'm pleased to report that we've made substantial progress and are committed to ensuring that those responsible for this situation are brought to book. In our efforts to safeguard our citizens, Mr. Speaker, to safeguard our territory, to maintain our democracy, we remain vigilant against the threat of violent extremism and terrorism. Therefore, we are resolute in enhancing our defense mechanisms through diplomacy, counterintelligence, information sharing, infrastructure development, and the acquisition of appropriate technology. Achieving a stable and secure nation necessitates the motivation of our uniformed personnel. Currently, the Ghana Armed Forces faces a housing shortfall of over 17,000 units, and we recognize that the inadequate state of barrack accommodation needs to be addressed promptly. In addition to housing, we'll prioritize improvements to rations and fuel supplies for our security forces. Quality healthcare is another critical aspect of motivating our armed forces. As we work to expand and improve facilities at the 37 Military Hospital, complemented by the recently restored oxygen plant, we remain committed to finishing the delayed Afari Kumasi Military Hospital, which is still a top priority for my government. The goal is to complete and operationalize this facility before the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, like many other state institutions under the previous administration, the Ministry of Defense is burdened with approximately 3.7 billion cedis in debt. a figure that continues to grow as new and undisclosed debts are uncovered. However, the demands of our Army, Navy, and Air Force continue to rise, necessitating the need for modern platforms for effective operations. Despite these financial challenges, I am confident that the Ghana Armed Forces possesses the human resources necessary to revitalize the defense industry's holding corporation, which can support the government's efforts in this regard. DHOC, which was begun under the late President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory during my tenure as chair of the Armed Forces Council, is essential for fueling Ghana's industrialization drive, which is aligned with our 24-hour economy initiative. Although DHOC has expanded, it's yet to be fully optimized to deliver the returns needed for the Ghana Armed Forces and our nation. I've tasked the Minister for Defense with incorporating innovative and significant private sector participation into DHOC's operations to harness its considerable potential for economic growth. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's strong international reputation was reaffirmed by the historic participation of foreign leaders during the swearing-in of the President, myself, and Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman on January 7th, 2025. Mr. Speaker, it reflects the confidence our country's stability and democratic progress has engendered in the international community. Ghana remains committed to its Pan-Africanist ideals, non-alignment, democracy, and global cooperation, and the rule of multilateralism, embracing a policy of friends to all and enemies to none. We'll continue to cultivate diplomatic ties based on mutual respect and shared values. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is open for business. Our policy on economic diplomacy focuses on export diversification, foreign investment, and job creation. A new blueprint and delivery unit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with clear performance indicators will be launched soon to ensure foreign engagements yield tangible benefits for our people. Because of emerging security threats, especially on our borders, Ghana is committed to security initiatives, particularly in the Sahel region. We'll maintain a continuous engagement with our Sahelian neighbors and continue to work with them to resolve the difficult situation that they are confronted with. I've appointed a special envoy to help sustain diplomatic relations with our Sahelian neighbors, aiming to achieve their reintegration, if possible, back into our regional bloc. Mr. Speaker, we'll expand passport application centers nationwide to reduce processing times to 7 days. We wish that a passport will be delivered within 7 days from the date application is submitted. These comprehensive reports at the Passport Office is going to align with our vision of a 24-hour economy. The Passport Office is going to work 24 hours to process passports that have been applied for. Mr. Speaker, as we reset Ghana to serve Ghanaians better, government will also revamp the labor administration institutions in the country. We'll promote social dialogue and foster harmonious industrial relations among stakeholders. In the coming months, the National Tripartite Committee, led by the Sector Minister, will organize a national labor conference to discuss pertinent issues affecting labor and employers. The recommendations are expected to influence and shape government's policies and programs in this sector. Mr. Speaker, we will launch the Ghana Labor Export Program, which would allow Ghanaians to go abroad and work with countries that we have signed agreements in specialized areas like engineering, technology, welding, carpentry, masonry, and nursing, teaching, and so many and so forth. The government will maintain strict fiduciary responsibility for the operation of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority and the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. This year, the NPRA will fully automate its internal operations and the pension industry will be regulated. This is critical to safeguarding the growing pension fund assets. As part of measures to increase pension coverage in the informal sector, which currently stands at only 11%, the government will implement an informal sector pension inclusion initiative to increase participation in micro-pension schemes. Decentralization has been at the heart of our government system, yet key players in the process, such as assemblymen and women, often face neglect and inadequate compensation. Mr. Speaker, I did promise to pay modest allowance to our assemblymen and women, and I'm committed to keeping this promise. The Honorable Minister, when he presents the budget to this House, would have a provision for allowances for assembly members. Mr. Speaker, I have just unveiled the state of the nation as I came to meet it. I've also disclosed several measures that I intend to take to address the challenges we have inherited. Nonetheless, no matter how well-intentioned our efforts to reset our economy are, they will not yield the desired outcome without the support of the people of Ghana. And so, to my dear countrymen and women, you have clearly and unmistakably expressed your displeasure with the poor governance and corruption that has existed in the past. Mr. Speaker, some of our compatriots did so even at the peril of their lives, just as our 28 February Crossroads shooting national heroes did in the Gold Coast. May all such martyrs of democracy, those who have died in the process of elections and in the process of just exercising their civil rights, may they rest peacefully in the bosom of the Lord. Mr. Speaker, we will, as I promised, investigate these deaths and we will provide appropriate compensation to the families of those who have died during the elections. My brothers and sisters, you gave me a compelling mandate that leaves no one in doubt about your expectations of me and my government. You embraced the vision to generate new and well-paying jobs through the 24-hour economy initiative. The arrogance of power that you so much abhor will be a thing of the past. I will enforce and demand the highest standards of performance from those who have chosen to work with me to improve the circumstances of our country. I'll publish a code of conduct that they will be strictly made to abide by. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me if I didn't admit that the entire economic value chain is currently in the internal ICU, As I recall mentioning a few intensive care units, as I recall mentioning a few years ago when we were still in opposition, the economy is even worse than we had envisaged. But this gives us ample opportunity to be innovative in our efforts to resuscitate it. And so what are the key takeaways from me for the people of Ghana? 1, that we shall fight corruption effectively. 2, that we shall run a lean government of no more than 60 ministers. 3, that we shall realign the ministries, agencies, and departments to eliminate duplication. 4, that will introduce austerity, reduce wasteful expenditure and spending, and improving tax collection. 5, that we shall widen Ghana's taxness, reform tax waivers, especially on investments, and return to our homegrown solutions. 6, that we will grow what we eat and reduce imports of food and goods that can easily be produced here in Ghana. Your voice and contributions will prove invaluable on this journey of national reset, and I encourage you to make your voices heard. I commit to the judicious use of your resources, eschewing waste and ostentation. We will always endeavor to make the most of the little we have, so that together we can guarantee a brighter future for our children and our children's children. Though the state of our nation now may appear bleak and the task of addressing it may seem daunting, nothing should stop us from achieving our goals once we set our minds to it. In one collective push, we can resolve to make this great nation bequeathed to us by our forebears and see it come to fruition. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's economic challenges are not insurmountable. They present the government and everyone else the opportunity to innovate, to reflect, review, and reset, which is the theme for the commemoration of our scaled-down 68th independence anniversary. Mr. Speaker, it is said that There is strength in unity. Ghana's greatest strength lies in its people, its young and energetic youth. If we stand united, we can be more resilient and build together the power of collective action to overcome economic and social challenges. Every Ghanaian, regardless of political affiliation, background, or status, has a responsibility to play a key role in nation building and work towards a complete reset of our country. Mr. Speaker, let me assure you that we are leaving no one behind as we reset to rebuild the Ghana we want. We will rebuild a Ghana that works for all of us and not just a few. We shall live the dreams of our forebears in our lifetime. And so, my countrymen and women, where despair once existed, let hope radiate. And where the sun appeared to set on our bright prospects as a nation, let a new dawn of enthusiasm and renewal supplant it. So that when I come and stand here next year to present a message of the state of our nation, it will be one brimming with excitement and happiness. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for this opportunity. I thank honorable members for your kind attention. May God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
Honorable members, please resume your seat. Honorable members,
this is Obaatanpa Radio.
Abusia mayana wase sa uguswa tie fidie hu na Obaatanpa pramto breka sebo wutie na wase no Yera John Dramani Mahama Ghana mampanyini Wamai Ghana State of the Nations Address enti se wutie mu ye pa na chese wamai Ghana no sane university e na chese wonya ho adagye de edi kan kura edi kan no Yera John Dramani Mahama mayati ase se Wamai Ghana bebia ye gina no chese enye papa sa wase economy no anasi state no enye good enti no wama Ghana fo nyina tiase se bebia wamai Ghana ni gina sisi anan kasa no bia betumi akonkan enmenimu san tentem so ede amayem enti we ya ne nsema edi kan ya wode atu dwam na ne kasa ye mu biemu no wakasa ye adefa dum so ne ho ya wotrum sa wo ba ye no nanka aka bet se don hwere enum eso de kom nanka ne Ghana ye kwakoto esumu neso wo hwe toto nyoma amadum so no wasisu pise wasove yetiemu ye pan dia wo chese dum so no wasiesie enti ayade se dum so bia eni ho ba bia abusan samna ya ma pani je diam kana do so pa sanya mesesa santo sha se bobo so nti weni ya bobo so tew nyame ya no anwuma ye transa kase ani mu ankasa no ya jebrani adaje ni asane mu na nsam na kasa ye dia dan we ho ni nara na ya bo ne kama e dia ma mu anwumre enti se na ma pani che se economy ni baby economy na ejina na so obefa no asa apache eti ba ku jina na national ba ko da fam eti sesi a wa fa die wa ba so ba be hwe no wa ye nsiesie ni na kama na Ghana etimi akoso na nsam de bibio ma wasan so kan so che se wunse yenim se Ghana ase ye we bi wo ma wo mu nimade papa eso ba se wo mu nya kwanya ko school sa wodo mu akotwo so ma disua ko nka na ya na adane bo achi bidin eti ya ma beni che se we no what the scholarship ba anasa scholarship no kwa we se ni mu se na wo da na asade ne ye no na adane bibie wo ho nti we no wo ba be ye ni ye what you say producer sha se ogboni tinko wo ba be ye scholarship ni ye na wo mu enimu de na so wo mu nya akwanya nko school no sa afo no wo ma be nya akwanya e de akọ school na wo mu so de sua no etimi akonkan ebiomo wasan so kan ne sa na aban ya wa be ya ba bebu no wo be bonyuma e de ato wo no mu enti enyuma no wo bo na tele ni eso na wo na baitre wo bia benya akwanya wo na mamuo yi mu aye adwuma na mfaso etimi abaga na hasei na aboa ma wo no ma ya na won fiba wakwa no ne wasi ekosiki green pastures wasi ekosiki green pastures Ghana has ni minim say dry pastures na wa ma wo mutimi nkire enti sesi an wo ba na bamuo ni mu ni nwuma bam na wo manya bia ye kama na dodo na etimi atena Ghana ha abusia ye John Dramani Mahama mampanyine wasan so to ne kasa so ya wo hwem se wo no wo ye nipa bia se wo haw ne amane aba ne so a ene wo no ye sen enam wadwumadi a wodi so anenti ama ne bresa enti se koba se wo bu omen enei wo hwe ba bi agina no a engina yie enti ne ba wa be wo ba be hwem na wasiesi.
Things are clearly bleak. So Speaker, bleak. So Speaker, I see on this side of the House my colleagues in black Mr. Speaker, they left this economy in a miserable state. And the attire that they adorn today says it all. But this side is in white because His Excellency the President knew very well was bringing to us a message of hope. Mr. Speaker, our elders have cautioned that you don't leave your crown in the hands of a hyena as a caretaker when you are traveling. Don't be surprised when you come back and the carcasses of all your livestock are gone. Mr. Speaker, what has happened to our economy and our country and the presentation that has been made says it all. It is sad, it is unfortunate. But His Excellency the President has brought us hope, hope for the youth of this country, hope for the women, hope for the Okada drivers, hope for the private sector, hope for students, and hope for ordinary Ghanaians who did everything to bring him to office with such an overwhelming number. Mr. Speaker, we have no doubt that everything outlined here gives hope, and this House will support His Excellency to deliver on his commitment. But more importantly, this House will support His Excellency to deliver on the promise of accountability. Those who so damage our economy must be held accountable. And we will support him to deliver on the commitment to accountability. Mr. Speaker, on that note, I move.
Anti abusia ne yakofa yeyi Ahmed na wo kasa no na eno no reactions na no egusu eba no we na efe na mampanya be kasa wie no dodo na ne ebeba ya be kasa bebre nti no we no ya bobo nsem ni bia mampani be kan no so na de amamo enwume ya kasa ye bomu no nsam na kasa ye besipi ni adomo so kwade amamo na fei ensem so a o kasa wie ye kire ya ba ye no sa dom dodo na fa dom kuma na fa enimdifo ne pede ehunufo e wo bambo mu no wo so be ka no yababori na ade amamum na mampani kase ya mu bia na sem bia wakan ya yesan so ebo so kakra de amamum na se wose there shouldn't be any state capture what you say ti so yemra hwebedwani ana wo yesuani no prayer bane japade amfa enkonkwa wiase ye behu no ode ne nua bidi ana ne wofa ti bidi na de atoso sa ne dia so bekomu nu na ya ne dia mampani sa na aba mu wanya sa de no eti wakane sei wase we must end state capture abanye japade na ye fa no wose won mu njai efei abanye de boss na mrahwe bedwani bi wakwakofa wakwakoto wakoye sa de no eno so wakasa de tia anu mu no wachasa na aba we de na nya de se bi bekoso empo ebibe mu a eyade se woni kuro na wodi fo wo mu no emra eni ni bedi sane ye fata eno so ye pia so ede amamo mampeni san so ka biem se na aban we mu na nasa na memu we mu no wo be ko de tia kata hyehye dwirimudie proye kankan corruption wo be ko de tia eti woni bia ye be hunu wo se funtum fram pese menkuminya menkuwa me de mame ham no percentage na me so ma percentage nyenye sei ni yendi ntemfa no wose wo be kodi etia esan se abeya ade bia edi wo mani nya ebo wo mani nyanya ma wo mani bre wo mani hwehwa ne nase etima pede chesa na abemu we mu a wasan so abemu no wo be ko edi etia kata hyehye dwirimudie proye ene kankan
anya afia wo de scholarship de no edinka kwa ana okay anya sania waka de afa ho no won se akyerkyerefo de no so waka bi de ama wo mo se mona etoda ye to mu konkurase wose ho ye kurase light ni wo entime nko gromesa enne ese edukrom ko jame ehona na first teacher kojo ehona no wo kyera de ko jame ho no eden kanie ni ho wonye aduane papa ndi ka kurampa wo be fampo die asefem ehun na aya baby chese ehun sam ne ye bebre enti se wodi nipa na ekwa woso won wonko na yera John Dramani Mahama bra wo kase wodi atodwa se saa kyerkyerefo na ye do mu konkura se wo se wo monko no se wo obeji atum se wodi ye do kɔ gromesa obekɔ ye do kokɔ jam obekɔ ese ye do krom obekɔ no 20% alawa ye de ma ye de ma enti wese na wodi abasa na nkonkɔ ba se aye ye postiti cheni bia kɔ ekira obeka se wo nkɔ ne ho nkro ne ba enti eno so ho nsɛm ya wo kan ye ede fa ho eno no mienua no ma wodi dem ne no so ya boso ena afin so wodi tu dwa se ECG ai wo mai dwume kwa won mo hwankane a ho nsɛm so ena koko board eka won mo de no enya sam ketua eka ne so papa ya chese yentumi mo so billions upon billions
o 60 billion wo chetemu e de baya eno so enya ane na my emfa we ento ana wo wie wo de no wo hu
we no wo ka free SHS ne so
yes we so dia
se enya de wo betwem wo bepeje mu kura mana ya akono ama wo nkwala no wo modidie mu akoyie
eno so no na ewie no san so ka biem se wo mu a wo nam sikasam so ne aban na wotwaka menka ne say eye bond holders no mampani say ebrebia wo mumre ne beso wo betua wo ka ye betua wo ka sa ne yesa ne fata say ye pesoa say ye teku say ye dama wo betua de ama wo mo enya de sa na aban wei ebedi obibia ka be say na me ye bon woda matoshes wo aban wo mo na aban tua meka ebewiase ye ne aban ne twe dawre mampani akyerkyere mu asiase people say wo bebia wo ne aban no enam sika kwan so didwa anamu wo apam bi no enya sope yebetu ya de amamu na asomdue etumi abam ebio mampanya sanso esisu dua se wode ntete kakra bi ebe ma asrafo sani ebe ya ebe boa ma sa service training department na nasa tena ye no emu tena na ye nika na ye akono esan se obi word ma wo school wakodi awie enso wotena fie che kakra eti afie no woba field no be ye adwuma na asade obi akoti training ye wie na kwanya class 1 ni bi animu wonu atimi so ove mass ni wie san bisa no sanya ma ye nti ye ya na wo pesa sa de ni bibesi eti no wose obe introduce a short military training eno no ebe boa ama amamuo no anasa bambo dwumadi ni mu no etimi aye nika
akamienu bi wo ha na minim se wedinka kan ho asema ma me gifti akamienu bi wo ha na minim se wedinka kan ho asema ma me gifti oware
okay
National Service Secretariat ma me
no there be ho me mo so
okay ene abusua yero John Dramani Mahama sama me no baby owo bia no yen declare wanted yen declare wanted and ye be chen yera ofori atade ne san se wo hwe ensene maame no ebra na wo ye panyin kwantrafo wo hwe dwumadie ne so ka wono mabosi ka yesusu se wono modi no enye sika wa enti yera John Dramani Mahama se baby bia ma me gifti o ware hye bia no empanyin fo hwe na wo mo 111 no ho no wo se abanda dai ya wono mo twemu no Womu say a year $400 million ewa agenda 111 ho na so no enya de say ye adwuma yemu say ye ho say sa ya de sabia na mu de he na ye adwuma emfa ho ni sika wono ma say ni nyina no e wo se wono ko pesika esan de betoa so eye ho adwuma eno so ho nsem wo kan
na we ya se bofa ye ni so free yes such as no sa bind da na atwam wo no wo kire se enipa na se sika ewremu eye wo pepe enum mechiripo ba ko 5.1 million na enai ye ma penini ye kasa no wo kire mu se se ano enipa enya so mfaso mum nipa enya so mfaso eye 5.1 million ba ma penini chasa nya ne sa nipa free yes such as woman na so mfaso no eye 3.4 million eti anu so wo se ye hya no so saa wo ho no mo enu so wo de ba ye anas wo kan ho sem de kire ya enu so ye pia so de amamu saa iti no sania ede na si kono de wo se enkomo na
kuma no wo mo ba no dani so
edom kuma no ba no dani no kasa ye mfa kuma bi ewi ana kakra na aka na de apeso ne asore so na agudie mu mrante no abefa ne aka no
Mr. Speaker, let me, on behalf of the Minority Caucus, congratulate His Excellency the President first on his election. This is the first time after the election that he's been to this chamber and to deliver a message on the state of the nation. Our side take this opportunity to congratulate you and wish you well. Second, Mr. President, on the 21st of February 2020 said, quote, Mr. Speaker, the meat is now down to the bones. This was on the occasion of your address to Parliament. And
abusanti dom kuma no ba no dani ya bobo ni akani na ne epiepia ni akani na so de amamo ne de mu nchiremu akasa de abramu ti abekwa na agudie mu mrante na bet 5 ya special training na ya de hyehyɛ so no na ya boye tiefo ne adofo ni na nka ye se wani ji so so ye radio marketer presenter producer DJ and technician akwanya kese na abade ama wo no fra 0533 357 13 enya akwanya boa ma wo ma ye packaging enti ebini se bia na ye ma wo boa ma wo ma ye packaging enti ebini se bia na ye ma wo konkono na wodi nkunegum wo de rubber na fam ho na wa hyehye gu adaka mu eno ano no nya ba be ye aniye wo ba ye betete wo kakra ye be ma wo training kakra dia fa enwuma wo mo ye no ho ye be ma wo training kakra dia fa enwuma wo mo ye no ho sane abeye adwuma na wo ba beye no sane abeye adwuma na wo ba beye no beye na waye ne yie na temato bia nkonkoba ho no beye na waye ne yie na temato bia nkonkoba ho enti ano no hyane nso saa training na ye de be ma wo no eye free training ni asa Royal Life Company Limited be ma baby pa edu ti ato anu kwada nchen ya ye wo ma monthly salary bosume so e betua wo ka befu adecheni anu kwada nchen ya ye wo ma monthly salary bosume so e betua wo ka befu adecheni adesan adwuma na wo ba be ye ntinu ye besa ma walawa san adwuma na wo ba be ye ntinu ye besa ma walawa ai no enka wo bosume yaketua no ho enti ya ma wo daily allowance ansana bosume